Slapin of the Slapin-Solomon viola duo, and I'm here today to talk about memorization. Memorization is like any other skill. If you don't do it often enough, you're not going to be that good at it. And similarly with music that you have already memorized, if you don't play through it from memory every once in a while, you're going to lose it. Not all pieces are equally easy to memorize, at least for me. And that's an important point because not everybody's brains work the same when it comes to memory. But I'll mention just a little bit how my experience with memorization has been, because I think it's pretty typical of most people's. And then at the end I'll mention some alternatives. I played from memory all the Bach sonatas, partitas, and suites. I've done that in a couple concerts. That takes a little over 4 hours, so that's a lot from memory. That actually, for me, is not especially difficult to memorize. That just involved playing through the music over and over and over and over a long enough period of time. At first, I had muscle memory. That is, my hands knew what to do on their own. And then I developed aural memory, A-U-R-A-L. I know what it sounds like, so I could have sung it back to you if you could have stood it, because I'm a terrible singer. Music that's harder than that, and for me to memorize, would be the Hindemith sonatas, for example, because the harmonic language is less typical of standard Western harmonic language. I'm not talking about confined to any specific era, really, but Hindemith came up with his own system of harmony, and I think it was pretty unique to him, and I think he was developing it over the course of those 4 sonatas, so it's not even the same exactly for each one. I can have the muscle memory to a fair amount. That comes the same way, but the aural memory, that takes longer. I had to really study the music. How is this built? The motives, because the harmony I can't rely on as much. It's not as natural for me, not as instinctive, because it's not being reinforced by all the other music that I'm playing. I've memorized the Paganini caprices. When I studied with Emanuel Vardi, he generally recommended memorizing etudes, and of course the concertos and the standard concertos and all that stuff. So I've memorized a lot of music. Even my own music, I have found, doesn't come immediately. You would think if you write a piece that you'd have it from memory, but that's not true. You have to practice it the same way you have to practice anybody else's music, and it presents the same challenges. So, as I've mentioned, for me, it's muscle memory and aural memory, but there are other people who tend to use visual memory, and so they can picture the page with the notes on it, and that helps them. That's one tool that they have. If maybe the muscle memory is failing at the moment, or they can't remember how it goes, in their mind they can see the page. I'm not one of those people, but I know some people who have such a strong visual memory, what's it called, photographic memory, that they don't have to memorize something. They can just see it as if they were looking at it on a music stand and play. And then there's Marilu Henner, who the actress who played Elaine Nardo in the TV sitcom Taxi. Is one of something like 50 people in the world who remembers every single event from her entire life, and they've documented this. So you can Google her if you want to read about this. But the point is, there are some real outliers when it comes to memory. So just because what works for me has worked pretty well, that doesn't mean it's going to work for you, or that something else might work for you better. So it's everybody sort of has to discover this a little bit on their own.